very often, when false complaints are made, the person who's being complained against goes to try and disprove, exonerate himself, show that the complaints are wrong. One of the ways that that happens is to show that the person making the complaint, right, is lacking integrity, right, in the way the complaint was made, or perhaps the person making the complaint, right, has a pattern of making similar complaints. Perhaps there are other factors at play. Now, whenever we're talking about a genuine process of discerning truth, of gathering information, that's incredibly relevant. But what's happened is a new word has entered culture: victim shaming. Now, victim shaming is a beautiful new word. And its appropriate application is, for example, a woman who complained correctly, who screamed to high heavens, as she should, because she was terribly violated in the horrific crime of rape, tragically, right, 25, 35, 45 years ago, would be attacked, shamed. She had it coming. That's a tragedy. That's a travesty. And so we spoke out against that kind of victim shaming. That's unbelievably important. At the same time, victim shaming is being used, right, as a veneer to protect false complainants. Right? So if someone suffers false complaint, and then that person critiques the integrity of the complainer, then he's called a victim shamer. Because the assumption is that the person complaining is telling the truth, therefore they must be a victim, therefore any critique of them is victim shaming. But that's kind of like being a murderer of your parents, and then throwing yourself, as the old joke goes, on the mercy of the court because you're an orphan. Right? You can't actually make a false complaint, pose as a victim, and then have integrity when you claim that you can't be critiqued or your integrity can't be impugned, because that would be victim shaming. Right? That is a violation of the core integrity of human rights, the core integrity of justice. And we need to stand for justice. And justice is not justice for men. It's not justice for women, but it's justice for all. Done. Rolling Stone magazine recently did an article about rape on campus. The article assumed that the complainant was telling the truth. Rolling Stone ran this article. It indicted a significant amount of serious, good, wonderful people, and they ran it as a given that it was true. The Duke lacrosse case, right? 140 professors, right, signed a condemning petition against the lacrosse players, 3 young men. Paper after paper assumed that it was true. Columbia, Emma Sulkowicz, the mattress girl, right, presses a complaint. A number of her friends joined the complaint. Right? It's all over the papers. Everyone assumes that it's true. The list goes on and on. Right? When you actually check the literature, we realize that there's a hidden growth, growing in exponential terms, right, of false complaints. And one of the justifications for false complaints is the feminine is angry. The feminine is angry. That's important. We need to honor that anger. The feminine has suffered, right, for 2,000 years from patriarchy. That's important. We need to honor that suffering. But that doesn't allow for false complaints. Right? Honoring suffering, right, doesn't permit false complaints. Only justice, right, has place, right, in an authentic system of integrity and goodness.